Good evening. Welcome to another interview on the Dayland Hair, might as well say podcast, because after tonight, that's what it will be. So here we have Henry kicking it with us tonight of the Henry Amazing Podcast. He also does some other things that we'll get into shortly. So just to kick it off, Henry, tell me a little bit about yourself. I read your bio, but I don't want to describe you to other people, so I'll let you go ahead and kick it with them.
All right, what's up, everybody? First off, shout out to you, Dalen. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for having me on your platform. I love everything you're doing. You're crushing it. Keep going, for real, for real.
Thank
But
you.
but I am Henry Goss Jr., also known as Henry Amazing. I'm a podcaster. I'm a content marketing specialist, social entrepreneur. Like, really, you name it, I do it in a sense. But really, when it comes to podcasting, content creation, and marketing and entrepreneurship, that's like my things. Like, I eat, sleep, and breathe all those things. And
Yeah, you
it's
have to.
yeah, for real. And like one thing people don't know, like when I was in undergrad, that was actually the field of study I went into, mass comm. The concentration was integrated marketing communications, fancy title for saying
Mhm.
marketing, PR, and advertising. So like I really like I do this, for lack of better words, I do this and have been really since like 2013, well, really 2012, 2013.
Okay. So when you decided to go that route of basically being a PR major, did you always know that you wanted to go into marketing?
Not at all. I actually grew up my whole life thinking I was going to be a lawyer. I got to undergrad and realized I don't want to take the bar. I'm not trying to go to law
Hmm.
school. Really, what it was I wanted the things that I knew I could get with the wealth that a lawyer
Yeah.
accumulates. But again, once I had that realization, which I'm glad I had it at the point I did, because I actually had that realization the summer before my freshman year in undergrad. So I was able to save myself some time. But
Right.
um, really, it was just proximity. There are some people I knew at the time, and they were in marketing, in PR. And I've always had a knack for like talking to people. Literally,
Hmm.
as a kid, I had all A's and B's, but I got in trouble for talking, too much. So when I figured out that there was a major that, would teach me even more of how to do that, I was like, oh yeah, that's it. That's it.
That's it. So now that you decided to major and that years have passed by, what
Mhm.
made you stick with digital marketing?
It really is just one, it being such a passion of mine, and two, the opportunity. One thing people grossly underestimate is the power of the internet and the power
Mm,
of social media. So,
that's
for those
good.
that don't know, I'm from Jackson, Mississippi, born and raised, still here in Jackson because I love Jackson. I plan to move at some point, but not right now. But it's like the fact that I'm able to connect with people from all over the world even though I'm in Mississippi, is powerful. Now, if we take that and add in the power of just, having a product or a service that is of value and that the market actually needs, then
Hmm.
boom, I got something that, man, it's very,
Yeah.
very powerful. It's very, very powerful, right? Because,
Right.
we both have our own businesses, right? And
Right.
I guess also my philosophy is if you don't have marketing, you don't have a business because the only way your business grows is if you're able to attract new clients and or even after you attract them, you still have to deliver value to them because you want to retain them as well. So
I agree. And I think people sometimes fail to realize like the marketing aspect is the voice of the business. Yeah, the content that you have and the knowledge that you have within is great, but the marketing really is the voice, that pushes the business forward too.
nah,
Totally.
that
So now let's talk a little bit about the podcast. So,
yes.
what is the Henry Amazing Podcast all about, and how did you come up with the name?
All right. So I am the host of the Amazing Podcast, where we help you unlock your greatness and be amazing. And the podcast is interview based. I highlight the stories of entrepreneurs, business owners, and creatives at every level of success, just because I want the listener to realize that no matter where they are in their journey, they can make their dreams happen if they're willing to put in the work and be consistent and persistent. So I've had literally had people on my podcast who are just now starting out in their journey, whether it's as a business owner, entrepreneur, or creative, as well as people that have been able to do 6 and 7 figures in their business. So it's really cool because it shows the range. And I just believe I've always been one that believe that yeah, we can hear from celebrities and hear their stories, and that's cool.
Mhm.
And we need that because we need to see how far we can take things. However, it's more impactful to see someone that who not only looks like you but has a similar like story to you, as well as they're like actually approachable. Like I can
Yes,
literally, go online, follow them, and like they interact with me versus if I'm, have that same thing with a celebrity. So
I totally
that's,
agree. Do you
yeah,
do you find it easier to work with your 6 7 figure clients versus someone starting out in entrepreneurship?
hmm. It really just depends on the person because I've had people. Well, yeah, it depends on the person because I've had some people that are just starting out, and as far as like getting them on the podcast, it was just just challenging a little bit.
Mhm.
Whereas there's a person I know, shout out to him, Kr. He actually was on the most recent episode of my podcast, and he has over 100 doors in real estate. So multi-million-dollar portfolio, and he was like real super easy process. So it just varies person to person.
Okay. So when it comes to reaching out to interviewees for your podcast, can you tell viewers that may be interested in starting a podcast, what that looks like from start to finish to getting them in the seat?
Yeah. So I'll say for me, what I typically do is one, I'm very personable because I understand like I a lot of times I'm cold messaging people. So,
Okay.
I introduce myself. So hey, I'm Henry Goss. I am a podcaster. This is what my podcast is about. I, love what you've been able to do with, your platform, what you've been able to do in business. I would love the opportunity to have you as a guest on my show. And I send that message, right? And sometimes
Mhm.
it may be a DM, sometimes it may be an email, but essentially what I do is I introduce myself, say what I do, and then I try to get to the point ASAP. Because again, we
Right.
gotta realize really it doesn't even matter what level of success a person is at. Time is very like our time is valuable, and you
Yes.
want to get to the point quickly so that people can make the decision right then and there. Well, it really just makes it easier for them to make a decision of whether they want to do, the interview with you or not, because you get to the point. Because if you are long winded, then they may lose interest, and they already don't have time like that for real.
I agree. How do you find a balance between doing the digital marketing and the podcast?
I wouldn't even call it a balance. It's really more so like an integration because they both, it's like both components go into it because I use, like, I do marketing to ever, to talk about the podcast and, spread the message. But I'll also use the podcast to, as proof of like my marketing ability. So they're really intertwined more so than anything.
And I love when you can find two things and mesh them and they mesh
Yeah.
well. So
Yes.
that's really what makes, doing both things very easy. So
Mhm.
now we're going to go into virtual assistant questions
Yeah.
because this
Yes.
wouldn't be my podcast without talking about virtual assistant
Yes.
services.
Yes.
So I know doing digital marketing is a part of VA. Do you consider anything that you do like virtual assistant services when it comes to digital marketing?
Honestly, it technically all falls under the like the spectrum of a VA, just because at the core, a VA is a person that assists the client get a task done. Like if we simplify everything down to each just bare bones, a VA is a person that assists their client complete a task. Now, of course, there are multiple different tasks that a client may need assistance with, whether that's admin, whether it's their social media management, whether it's even like for instance, if it's a podcast, then you have like guest management where you are you're basically helping the person communicate with potential guests. You may be reaching out to them, trying to book them for the show, or even following up to ensure that the different steps that you take at from the beginning to the end of them, being on the podcast, just facilitating all that. Like all of that falls within the scope of what a VA does. I
Yes.
will say, I think, and I'm glad it's so funny you asked it, because I think most people don't even like fully understand what what a VA is, and then understanding that sometimes like just because you have a VA, that doesn't mean that that person is supposed to do like everything, especially if it's not in their scope of genius, or just
Yes.
their role scope, or whatever was agreed upon at the beginning.
I agree. You do find some business owners like they think the VA is like the be all do all kind of person, and that's not necessarily true. Depending on what your particular focus point is being a VA, because some people are good with travel arrangements.
Yeah.
Some people are good with the back end with calendar and email management. Some people are just great with social media. So I think, just finding out what the niche is of that VA, or what their area of focus is really what helps you determine what type of VA to bring onto the team for sure.
Okay. Now, I definitely want to give a shout out to all the VAs that can do all and be everything, because y'all are the GOAT. Shout out to y'all for real.
Yes, most people will say, what do you like to do? What can you do?" And I'm like, "Well, really, there's nothing that I can't do. What is it that you need? And then let me tell you if
Mhm.
I'm able to do it or not." Just because I work as a higher ed professional in my 9 to 5, so I'm constantly doing a lot of admin tasks
Mhm.
daily. So, do you foresee yourself getting a VA once your business evolves more into what it is now?
Oh, easily, easily. And it's funny, right? Because I actually have a really, really dope opportunity where I get to, offer my services, as well, a social media manager, but it's to me, it's all the same. But
We gonna
anywho,
bring Henry over to the VA side, y'all.
no, like for real. And it's funny because I've actually like recently announced that I'm gonna start doing like podcast VA work, because one thing, like as a podcaster, I understand just how much time goes into producing a show from pre-production to post. Like it take a lot of time, and especially for people that they may have a 9 to 5, or they're running their own business, or they're married, or they got kids. Like it's a lot of things that's taking their time, but they want to have a consistent podcast.
Right.
That's where I come in. Like I help. Basically, they record the episode, and I handle everything on the back end. And then I think I don't even know if I answered your question about bringing a VA, but most definitely, because I can't. Like I'm only one person. I only have 24 hours in a day,
Yep.
168 hours in a week. So I know if I want to, scale and just increase my impact, I have to bring people on the team just so that we can fully service people the right way. Because I don't want to give people half a effort. Like I
I
want to
agree.
give them an amazing experience from start to finish.
Plug. So Henry, podcast VA, y'all reach out to him. If you follow him on Twitter, matter of fact, his social media handles are on the bottom. So definitely hit him up if you need help with your podcast. Once it's recorded, he can take it from there. So the last question that I have for you is, what advice would you give any upcoming entrepreneurs that want to, of course, work for themselves at one day?
Okay. I'll say the first thing you need to do is believe in yourself with zero doubt. Because if you believe in yourself with zero doubt, then you will have the will and the tenacity and the grit to persevere as you face obstacles. As you hear the noise from the outside world, you'll be able to go through it and persevere through it. Um, when you don't believe in yourself fully, then that means that you may be susceptible to leaning towards the validation of others. And it's a scary place to be when you look to other people to validate you, validate your ideas, and to, validate even just your success. Like, the only person that really needs to validate you is yourself. As long as you believe in you, that is all that matters. Now, of course, I'm not saying that you should consider the opinions of the market when you bring out your product or service. But before you even get into all that, if you don't believe in you, then nobody else will. So that's first, and then next, get the right information, get in the right environment, because you need information, environment, and the right activity. So putting the work too.
Yes.
So all of that, but it starts with that self belief, that zero doubt self belief.
I agree. Definitely. Like you said, get in those circles, get a mentor. If anything, get a mentor, find out somebody that's doing it in that field. Because once you get, in those networks of people that are doing the things that you want to do, you can only grow from that point on.
No,
Definitely. So we did have a comment that says, when the VA needs a VA, it's such a valuable position. Absolutely. So
easy,
yeah.
man. But no man is an island. No man or woman is an island. And it's like the cliche goes, but it's true. If you want to go fast, go by yourself. But if you want to
Yes.
go far, you have to bring people with you. That is literally the only way. Any person you look at that's crushing it on a high level, whether it's Beyonce, right, or like Elon, or just any person that's achieving it at a high level, they all have teams. They all have people that work with them. So why not do the same? Why
I
not?
agree. I totally
Just
agree.
leave clues, man. It really do.
So get yourself a team. All
Yes.
right.
Yes.
So, Henry, I do want to thank you for coming on to the Daily Hair podcast, officially changing tonight. I appreciate you
Woo!
coming on to, talk about your digital marketing and your podcast. I do greatly appreciate it. And to give advice some upcoming entrepreneurs that just want to take the leap of faith and get right into it. As you can see, you can follow Henry on social media at HenryAMAZIN, no G, on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And you may also find him at the Amazing Podcast there on social media as well. So, Henry, once again, thank you, and we will chat later.
Peace.
Peace.